I'm Andrew Porter from East Coast Yacht Sales. You're joining me on a Targa 32, and I'm standing on the engine hatches with the engine compartment right below my feet. One of the most exciting parts of any boat is the engine room and the systems that are down there. If you've ever wanted to nerd out in an engine room and talk shop and talk details, that's what we're going to do today. So let's go check it out. We're going down in the engine room. First things first, here are the Volvo Penta D4s. These are the D4 320 horse. Seems to be our preferred engine for the Targa 32. It's a great combination of speed, power, efficiency. It does everything that we want to see out of this model. And you can see it allows service around the engine. You know, you've got access outboard. The front of the engines is wide open, as well as the inboard side. I can't get in between the two engines, but from in front here, I can get all three sides and on top pretty easily. Forward center is the Fisher Panda. This is a 5 kW diesel generator. Powers everything on board without a problem. Small, quiet, compact, and delivers all the power, the alternating current AC power that you need for the Targa 32. Let's take a peek here on the starboard side. We start to get into some of the electrical. So right here we've got the Victron inverter charger. This is paired up right next to a isolation transformer, also from Victron. Two vital pieces of equipment for the boat. The charger, which is taking shore power and charging the batteries, but also inverting battery power into the boat for alternating current when the generator's not running. So two nice pieces of Victron gear there. I've also got a fuse and an on-off switch for the inverter, which is right down here. Easily accessible in plain view, nice and simple. Two start batteries next as we move aft along the starboard side. Start battery port, start battery starboard. Those are just for the engines. They're fully independent and none of the house systems can run off of that. So you've always got independent start batteries ready for you when it's time to start the engines. Moving back along the starboard side, we've got the diesel heater tucked up under here, providing vented heat, ducted heat throughout the interior of the boat. Under the diesel heater, there's a galvanic isolator, which is for shore power and ensuring safe shore power coming aboard the boat. Aft into the corner, we get the Volvo steering pumps back aft. I've got a AC breaker box aft in the upper corner, which is easily accessible, arm's reach, which gives me shore power inlet and generator breaker switches. Moving on to the front wall of the engine room, we sort of move into the electrical world. It's a great showcase of Targa's build quality and the craftsmanship that the builders at Targa can accomplish. This is neat, tidy, well-organized stuff. Wire runs are labeled, bundled, organized, really nice. A lot of detail in here, but we can point out some of the highlights. You've got your remote battery switches here, so that's going to be for your generator, your service house batteries, your starboard engine start, and your port engine start. And these are remote battery switches. So up in the cabin, you have a smaller switch which actuates these battery switches, so you don't have to get in here to turn on those batteries. You've also got a crossover here, which is basically a battery combiner, also known as a parallel switch. It allows you to use the house bank to start the engines if you ever got yourself into a situation where there wasn't enough juice in the start batteries to start the engines. Moving across the front of the engine room, this is an MPPT controller. This is part of the solar system. So up on the housetop, we've got solar panels, and this MPPT controller moderates voltage so that the output from the solar panel is the correct voltage going down into the batteries. You also have a outlet right here, which is just a accessory if you ever needed to run an extension cord, if you needed a light or a vacuum cleaner down here. And also the way Targa does this is the battery charger has its own outlet, as well as the water heater has its outlet. So those are actually plug-in appliances down here in the engine room. It's a neat and tidy way to do it. It all sits right there in plain view. All the wiring for pretty much the whole boat comes together right here in the negative bus bars. So you've got all these black negative wires coming together, hitting these two big buses, and you have a negative on-off switch, sort of a belt and suspenders approach. If you ever needed to shut down the boat, beyond just turning off the battery switches, you could hit this negative off switch. That red canister right there is a Fireboy automatic fire extinguisher, so that protects the engine room compartment in the event of very high temperature. Additionally, down here we have a seacock inlet for the air conditioning. So we've got an air conditioning coolant pump here, which brings raw water in through the seacock, comes through a strainer, goes through the pump, and then that cools down the aircon system in the boat, giving it cooling water, which is there for how it takes the cooling water and creates the cold air. Coming down between the two engines is the Fisher Panda inline exhaust. So right down here, down in the bilge, coming out the back of the generator compartment is a water flow muffler. So it's holding muffler, it's a pot muffler, exhaust and water comes through that, hits the pot, and then goes out the back of the boat. Couple other details down in here, right up here on the ledge on the against the port side is a remote refrigeration compressor. So this is a Frigaboat compressor, which is the cooling compressor for the outdoor fridge. So when I'm down here in the engine room on the Volvo D4s, a couple things that are sort of my daily checks. This is the sea strainer. So this is the filter that's straining the seawater as it goes into the cooling side of the engine. That's a clear plastic top, so I can visually inspect, look in there. Believe it or not, you'll find seaweed in there. You might find crabs. You could find all sorts of stuff that's been sucked up in through the raw water system. And so that's where you'd see that. And if you did need to change that, you close the seacock and you can open this up, and then you could remove anything that was in there. Additionally, here is the oil dipstick. So that's your daily check of engine oil level. It's simple, it's right here. This is the port engine, and right here on the starboard engine. So right out in the open, easy to see. Right next to it, you'll see this is the secondary fuel filter. So this is the Volvo fuel filter right here, which is a spin-on canister, and it has this little pump, which is a priming pump on top. Mostly for technicians if you were changing fuel filters and you needed to move a little fuel through, but that is a little primer pump right on the top of that. Moving over to port on the front side of the engine room here, we've got one of the service batteries. So this is a 12-volt AGM battery. There are 3 batteries total for the service and the house bank, and they exist right here, 1 here, 2 there, so you get 3 total. Moving across, you've got the raw water strainer, which is the raw water inlet strainer for the Fisher Panda generator. You've got a fuel filter for the Fisher Panda generator, a fresh water pump, which is actually for the toilet, that's dedicated for the toilet. You've got a fuel water separator, that's the primary fuel filter for the starboard engine. Tucked up on the corner right there is a manual bilge pump. So up on deck is a handle for a manual bilge pump, and the pump itself lives right there. So coming over back on the port side here, we get into a bunch of the freshwater systems on the boat. So hot water tank, hot water heater, that is through AC power, whether that's through shore power or through the generator. And it also has a loop coming off of the port engine from the cooling system, a coolant loop that goes in through this tank and through a heat exchanger will heat the hot water. So hot domestic water tank for showers, doing dishes inside the boat. Coming back along the outboard wall there's a couple other pumps, seawater pump, deck wash pump, holding tank overboard pump, some of your freshwater and waste systems. Right here is the actual waste tank. Here's the holding tank with some of the associated plumbing coming to the tank, and then your outboard discharge. Right here is the air pressure tank. This is for the Kallenberg air horn. So the air horn's up on top of the roof, but the compressor in this little tank is down here. So whenever it's powered up, you've got sort of air at your fingertips so you can give a big blast on the Kallenbergs. So on the front of these Volvos, you'll notice a modern belt system, which is a flat serpentine belt. And that's one belt going around all of the different equipment, including the alternator, all of the pumps, all of the gears and wheels on the front. Really nice system, one tensioned belt right on the front. That is a tour of a Targa 32 engine space. I hope it highlights Targa's capabilities, some of the equipment that they use, the features, the layout, where everything sits in this engine room. It's an important space on any boat, so you need to know your way around that engine room, and I hope that was a helpful video. I'm Andrew Porter from East Coast Yacht Sales. Reach out to me if you have any questions about Targa.